I totally agree with what you're saying. It's, if we deem it to be a safety issue, then they need to be mowed.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I
Are
would
they really
also-
tall?
They're not real tall, but they're wildflowers that grow, and there's weeds that grow in them. They're not maintained real well. But if we're gonna mow, we need to mow everything, not just pick and choose. This person wants a sign up.
I don't know how that you would, I mean, I'm just saying logistically, I don't know how the road department would like, oh, so this house you do this and then that house you do that. I think like that's just.
Oh, she puts signs out. She puts
asking
lots of
for
signs out.
chaos. Oh,
She puts
okay.
lots of signs out, but just because you put signs out, we still have an obligation to maintain that roadside.
Got it. All right, Kelly,
All
so
right.
we need to start.
Yep. Are we all set with the broadcast? And who do we have tonight?
Yep, we're all set.
Austin?
No, Patrick. We're all set.
Okay. All right, Patrick. Good evening. I call to order the April 13th, 2021 Board of Commissioners Equalization Session according to MCL 209.5. In accordance with Section 3 of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, the clerk will note for the record, this meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to local declaration of emergency adopted by the Board of Commissioners on March 18th, 2020 and extended on October 15th, 2020. All members are attending remotely with video activated. During the roll call, each member will indicate if they are currently located in Calhoun County or if not, the county, city, or village or township, the state from which they are attending this meeting remotely. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Rochelle Hatcher.
Present, Battle Creek, Michigan, District 2.
Commissioner Jake Smith.
Present from the magnificent La Vista Boulevard in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Commissioner Steve Frisbee.
Present in Battle Creek tonight.
Commissioner Derek King.
Present, Saresco.
Commissioner Tommy Miller.
Present, Marengo Township.
Commissioner Gary Tompkins.
Present, Homer Township.
And Commissioner Kathy Sue Petty.
Here, Battle Creek. City Hall.
We have quorum.
Thank you. After a moment of silence, Commissioner Vetti will lead us in the pledge. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the passing of Steve Swafford, who's a 29-year road department veteran. I'd like to keep his wife, Julie, and his son, Andrew, and daughter, Danielle, and their grandkids in your thoughts. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
To the republic
for which
for which it
it stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and
liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the April 13th, 2021 Board of Commissioners Equalization Session as presented?
So moved, Miller.
Support Vetti.
Miller and Vetti, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Petty.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners March 18th, 2021 regular session as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support Vetti.
Tompkins and Vetti, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, please.
We have 7 yes.
Thank you. The next item is citizens' time. The next item on the agenda is citizens' time. During citizens' time, the board chair shall recognize any person wishing to address the board. A person recognized by the chair shall call in and state his or her name and community of residence. A person may address the board only once on the same matter during each period set aside for citizens' time on the agenda and only on matters that are relevant to county government. The chair shall control the length of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes, and shall not allow negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. There's approximately a 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? And we do have a written statement, I believe. Who's handling that tonight? Kelly, you're muted. There we go.
Yes, okay. So I will read into the record a form received through our website today from a resident named Linda Sippert Kilborn from Marshall, Michigan. And her message is, how do I protect my lilies and keep the county from cutting them? I have followed all the rules, but do not cut signs, put out 100 yellow flags, and put in 6 to 8 foot metal poles with yellow warning tape from post to post, and still they cut the lilies. Based on also an email that we received earlier, the context we believe is in reference to our agenda item number 12B3, which is the MDOT contract for federal aid safety grant tree removal across the county.
Thank you. So noted. Anybody else would like to address their commissioners? Patrick, do you have anybody?
We do have 2 call-ins, but I don't know if they have the ability to raise their hand or not, if they want to talk.
They also maybe are guests for one of the agenda items under pension bonds. So
Quite a few of them are.
yes.
I also believe one of the callers is from Savion Energy, and that would relate to item 9B3, the road use agreement.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to address their commissioners? Jim, those folks are going to talk during that agenda item, correct?
I believe it's on the consent agenda, so unless there's questions about that specific agenda, they
Okay.
need to or request to speak.
Okay.
They would answer questions if there weren't.
Anybody in the queue, Patrick?
No one in the queue.
All right, we'll move on. Elected appointed county officials comments. Is there anyone who'd like to make comments tonight? We have a hand of Brian, Treasurer Wensauer.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I wasn't sure you could hear me or not. I just wanted to give you a quick update on foreclosures. Our team was out, including myself, today in the city of Battle Creek. We visited probably 10 to 12 homes. We're trying to target on our initial visit occupied homes. We're going to try to not foreclose on occupied homes this year. We spoke with at least 3 people who are contract land contract holders who were not informed that the landlord was not paying the taxes. So we've got a couple issues that are going to be kind of interesting this year. We tried to at least let them know that we're not going to evict them at this point, as long as there's no violations as far as water shut off, electric shut off, etc. We had one lady that has 3 children who are handicapped children. She's owned it for about 3 years. the owner that she was buying on a land contract. She has a signed land contract, which she gave us copies of. Kept telling her, no, the taxes are paid, taxes are paid. And when we showed up, she just broke down. It was really sad. It was one of those times that Kelly and I have had a discussion about a social worker, and this would have been a perfect time to bring a social worker in to work with this family. She was just devastated, and the girls did a very good job. I was very proud of them, how they calmed her down and was able to explain to her that she's not going to be kicked out of her home, that we'll work with her and try to do whatever we can. The other nice part is that we only had 91 foreclosures this year. And again, a lot of those are vacant properties. And we had 3 properties that we foreclosed on that were burned out. And at the last minute, we found out the city of Battle Creek demoed 2 of them for us. So we're only stuck with 1 that has to get demoed. So that was a good thing. So appreciate and thank you very much for the opportunity to give you an update.
Thank you. Any other elected officials, county officials? All right, we'll move on. We have a special order of business is our 2021 equalization report and resolution. Presentation by Matt Hanson, Equalization Director, and Tom Scott, Deputy Equalization Director.
Thank you, Commissioner Frisbee. I'll be presenting this evening. I don't know if I'm going to be able to share my screen on here, but I have the equalization report actually set up, maybe make it a little bit smoother. But it looks like it's not letting me.
If he gets promoted, Kenny?
Yeah, if I make him co-host, he'll be able to share his screen, I believe.
Go ahead.
I just thought it might be a little bit easier than everyone having to thumb through the report as I go along.
All right, go ahead and try and share your screen.
Everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is just briefly just go through the table of contents real quick, and I've got some highlighted issues or pages that I'd like to look at. So let me go back up here to table of contents. So here we have the letter of submission, which I'll read from Director Hanson, outlining the equalized value change over 2021. And then move down to the summary of assessed value and taxable value change. And then there's a graph down here with the equalized value versus taxable value, and then the average true cash value per residential parcel. It's kind of all showing values going up, which is outstanding, comparing to where we were at this time last year with a lot of unknowns with the pandemic. So if we could skip down here to the letter submission. Let's go ahead and like to read that for everyone here. See if I can shrink that just a scotch. Okay, so we have the Calhoun County Equalization Department has prepared the attached report of values within the 19 townships and 4 cities in the county. The values as shown are extracted from the local government unit 2021 assessment rolls. The rolls have met all the criteria required and have been equalized, compensate for any equities between jurisdictions based on the studies conducted by your Calhoun County Equalization Department as required by section 211.34 of the Michigan compiled laws. The department believes no county equalization factors are required and recommends that the county accepts and equalizes each assessment roll as submitted. 2021 values as stated in this report indicate a 3.6% increase in equalized value when compared to the 2020 values. The reported 2021 county total equalized value is $4,879,183,531. Wish to thank the county assessing officers and the equalization department staff for their assistance in the preparation and submission of the data supporting this report. Respectfully submitted, Matthew L. Hanson, Equalization Director. So from there, we'll get to the good stuff, where we have our taxable value summary, year-over-year changes. So as we can see, total real, total personal, and total real and personal are all up over last year. So we're looking at a 3.7% increase for total real property, 2.1% increase for total personal, for the overall total real and personal property of 3.6%. The taxable values have all increased, with a total real of a 2.8% over last year, a 1.9% for personal property over last year, for a county total taxable value increase of 2.7%. Now to kind of show you on page 7 of the report, we have a nice graph here depicting the actual taxable value and equalized value difference. So as I've explained in the past, that you'll see this narrow margin here, and that's actually showing you that the real estate market isn't that great, because you're assessed and equalized really close to your taxable value. Now, as you go further out, you're looking now in the 2021 where that gap has widened quite substantially again over last year. So that means that the real estate market is good. I mean, it's showing that gap. So we're actually at 21.1%, which is even more of an increase over last year, which is now the highest it's been in over 21 years. So just give you an idea where that real estate market's going. The bigger the gap, the better the real estate market. And then also, I thought this was pretty interesting, the residential average market value per parcel. So in 2021, down here we look at countywide totals. That's where you're looking at for your average residential parcel. And that's up over 106,213 over last year. So that's interesting. You can, if you have more time, to want to look at these a little closer to see exactly where these line up. But that's also a very good indication of where we're looking at the real estate market. And then again here on, let's say page 13, scroll down to you. And these are going to be the year-over-year comparison of the county taxable values. We're going to scroll down to here with your percent change. I mean, everything is up. I mean, this is one of the first that I've actually seen looking over the past years where all the taxable values have increased over last year. There hasn't even been, even looking back even further here, you'll see at some point there's been some decrease, whether it be in personal property or maybe something in assessed where it's decreased. But here all the values are going up. And then there's only one substantial note that I wanted to make if someone were looking through this and did not know, which is on page 26. Scroll down here. It's a substantial change over last year, but it can be very easily explained. And that's going to be in Bedford Township. Let's see here. Page 26. So if someone were to look at this and see this negative 52.4% over last year, what that is that there were actually 13 industrial real parcels last year in Bedford Township, but now 3 of those have been class changed to a 201. So they didn't go anywhere, they just went to a different class. Because that class is so small, and when you see even 3 or 4 parcels leaving, it's going to be a substantial percent change over last year. So that's, one of those anomalies, and some of these other negative adjustments you're looking at are from market adjustments, but nothing is substantial. So I want to just kind of point that out. Anybody was looking at that and had questions, so they're relatively easily to explain. Really, that's the key points that I wanted to hit on. I mean, everything's going taxable value wise and even assessed value. And even looking at the real estate market statistics today going forward, there doesn't appear to be much of a slowdown. And I'm seeing deeds come in like crazy every week. Every single week, it's nothing. It's comparable, extremely comparable to last year around this time. So I think that's a real good sign if we can just keep that momentum going forward. So that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Let's get a motion. Can I have a motion to approve the 2021 equalization report and resolution as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support, Smith.
Tompkins and Smith, is there any discussion or questions?
If I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Tom, if you could take a look at page 14 on in the guide. Typically what I like to do is look at any particular wild fluctuations in taxable values as it relates to either personal or real property. And I like to be able to explain that as a reference to my district. So you don't necessarily have to explain it now, but we can get in contact, but there's two in particular that I'd like you to take a look at if possible. And on page 14, under the personal property taxable values, you'll notice that Albion Township had about a 26% reduction in their personal property. And also too, in contrast, Homer Township actually had about almost 29% increase in their personal property. So just as a point of clarification for myself and be able to relay that to the folks as I put, I like to always let my constituents know those wild fluctuations. So if you don't know those at that point, we can certainly, we can do it offline for that matter. So.
Right, and a lot of that stuff is going to be more of a market adjustment. And there was in Albion Township specifically, there was a utility personal property that changed significantly. Okay. So it was either incorrectly reported and it was taken out, which that makes a huge difference. And a lot of these fluctuations where you're seeing these jumps, there's either move-ins of personal property that wasn't there last year. So now that's new and that's increasing that percentage.
Okay.
And even when you're looking at maybe some of these smaller figures like the, maybe 5 million or 8 million, right. Any smaller amount adjustment is going to show a pretty big percent decrease or increase, right, coming in or coming out.
Okay.
And I don't have access to those personal property statements. I'm not able to actually look at them specifically and go down the line. Sure. But that's initially what you'll see with those kind of influxes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other? Just have one question for you, Tom. When I first started as a commissioner, we had some real problems exchanging information in a timely fashion between townships and the county right about now. How's that going lately?
It's going pretty well. I mean, it's going well. I mean, even considering the pandemic, if I need some information, I can reach out and get a hold of assessors or township supervisors. I'm trying to build that rapport more with them, especially with the newer ones that have been recently elected. And it seems to be going well.
I got to tell you, I've not heard any negative in the last several years. So we appreciate your efforts in that, because that is very frustrating for those local assessors not to have timely information. So.
For sure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, sir.
Any other discussion?
Yeah,
Commissioner
Tom,
Cook.
do you think you could make some hard copies and have them available? I get asked about millage rates all the time, and I'd like to have one of those handy. And I think in the past we've got them, but everything's different now.
Right. I'll be posting these as well on the equalization webpage, if that's any help. But I definitely can print out some copies and have those accessible any way you need them.
It's helpful.
Yep.
Anybody else? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Yep, 7 yes.
Motion carries. Next up is a motion to Approve a proclamation for April 2021 as National County Government Month. Counties matter. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, parishes, and boroughs serving more than 300 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties provide public health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. And whereas Calhoun County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in an efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas under the leadership of the National Association of Counties President Gary Moore, NACO is demonstrating how counties matter, especially in supporting residents and businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities and programs. And whereas this year more than ever, Calhoun County government will focus on continued pandemic response, the goal to vaccinate most of our residents as quickly as possible, and on the recovery efforts to improve the economic prosperity and strength of our businesses and the health and well-being of our community as a whole. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Steve Frisbee, Calhoun County Board Chair, do hereby proclaim April 2021 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to recognize the importance of county government and to partner with us as we emerge from the pandemic together. Signed, Steve Frisbee. Can I have a motion to approve?
Support Hatcher. I'm sorry, so moved Hatcher, I'm sorry.
Hatcher,
Support Betty.
Hatcher and Betty. Any discussion? Kelly did a really nice presentation on Be Seen, not this Monday, but the previous Monday, and appreciate her promoting that. So good job. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Our consent agenda, we have 4 items on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve as presented?
So move Betty.
Support Miller.
Betty and Miller, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Special committee and workshop board reports. Does anybody have any reports today?
If I may, Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, thank you
Sure.
very much. Just have one this evening. The Senior Millage Allocation Committee met on April 2nd. Excuse me. After 3 great candidates that came through the process, we were blessed to have 3 candidates we recommended for approval to the Board of Commissioners, Dominic O. To the Senior Millage Allocation Committee. Like I said, those 3 candidates were really good. We interviewed each one of them and all showed a very much a passion to serve and help seniors. And the Senior Millage process is actually a very good, open process that really gets to the heart of that. And we make sure that we follow up with our other candidates to see what other potential roles they could play within the senior millage. Because again, as you all know, with committees, it's awful hard to get people to want to volunteer. So we always take that advantage at the senior millage to make sure that we follow up with those folks. So again, a great addition to us. But again, we couldn't have went wrong with any of the 3 candidates that we heard. We also heard a report from Kate Turner of Senior Services on the Celebrating Calhoun County Centenarians 2021 project that's planned for this year. As many of you know, we normally would have a centenarian luncheon each year. We would recognize those 99 and older through a luncheon at Schuler's, and it's a nice presentation. It was really good. But obviously with COVID, it's kind of changed the dynamics of this. And this project will provide an opportunity for volunteers to interview these centenarians on their life experiences, and also have an opportunity to create a visual display and work with schools to put these testimonials on display for students. So being able to take these centenarians, their life history and be able to project that. And I think it's really important for our youth to be able to intersect and engage and be able to hear these stories of the knowledge and experience that these folks have had in their long life. So great job to Kate in terms of promoting that and moving that forward. We also approved a mini grant in the amount of $5,000 to the city of Albion for the Holland Park Pavilion. In addition to that, we approved a mini grant in the amount of $5,000 for the Walk Beat for music to be performed at the Albion Farmers Market. And then we also approved senior millage committee members for the senior strategic project RFP that'll be coming up on April 14th due. And then also the Joanne Conkle Leadership Award Selection Committee that'll be coming up as well. So pretty busy senior millage allocation committee, but very good. So thank you, Chair. Appreciate that.
Any other?
Yes, Chair. I actually have the Southwest Michigan, the behavior health. We did have an orientation meeting Friday the 9th. I was not aware that there was actually, when I went on the site, I guess it had switched. There was a family emergency with the person that set the meeting up. So I'm not sure if someone else on the commission was able to attend, or if because they switched meetings, but you know, some of us were stuck trying to sign on to the old link. So I was just wondering if anyone else was able to meet or report. Okay, so that's a no. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I don't, Rochelle, I think it was for brand new people on that committee. And so, yeah.
And it was,
Okay.
no, you're absolutely right. It was for new, it was an orientation, and the host had an emergency and they didn't know how to change the link. So hopefully we get to do that over again, you guys, and I'll be able to come back and share that with you guys. So hopefully they'll do something, you know, for us because of that. And then I'll be able to come back and share that with you guys.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Mr. Miller.
On Wednesday, March 31st, the MSU 4-H extension met, and we're District 13. It consists of Berrien Branch, Calhoun, St. Joseph, Cass, Van Buren, and Kalamazoo counties. It was a virtual meeting. There's a lot of discussion about where other fairs are doing. A lot of fairs are 4-H only. We're fortunate enough to have a youth fair. So like last year, 4-H was shut down completely. Kids could still join a youth club and still participate to an extent. Georgia Perry did a presentation on all of the things that MSU has to offer it now online. There's so many different workshops. I mean, there's dozens of them that she brought up, but you can get on their website if you want to get on any workshops. They're still offering all that stuff, but as of right now, we're still not doing anything in person. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. I was on BCN yesterday or Monday, and we talked about the American Rescue Act and the impact on Calhoun County and the $64 million windfall coming to the county, and how we haven't made any plans, but what could happen with that, and stressing collaboration. So as Kelly has in the past. Parks and Rec met last week, and I believe we have information from every township now, every entity, governmental entity that's receiving dollars, if they plan to receive the dollars, and do they have a general outline of what they're planning to do. So as that moves forward, that's going to be pretty exciting. It's everything from replacing equipment to using that as a leverage for local match dollars for a DNR grant to get an even bigger impact. So there's all kinds of ways that this is being spent, and it's all in good ways. So it'll really benefit the community. All right, we'll move on. We don't have any unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. I'll turn it over to Administrator Controller Kelly Scott.
Mr. Chair, in conjunction with National County Government Month, I want to say thank you to Lucy Blair, our communications manager, who has worked with our elected officials and department heads to launch some annual reports from last year on our website. So please check those out. And they're a very interesting mix of statistics where you can see how services were impacted by COVID-19 and and also some accomplishments that are pretty impressive last year, even during the pandemic. A couple of other board and committee reports that have not met but are upcoming. The Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board received this year's net win at 4.9 million. It was down by 16% because of the casino shutdown last year. However, we're in the process of accepting the tier 2 actual cost reimbursement requests. Those are due by this Friday, and the board will meet on April 30 to review those applications. The Native American Heritage Fund also is getting ready to send out our annual applications for projects that help increase the relationships that any communities, local governments have with any of our federally recognized tribes throughout Michigan. That application will be out on April 23rd. So reminder, this is the only Board of Commissioners meeting this month, and I am recommending that the Board of Commissioners meetings continue to be virtual for the next couple of months. So in consultation with our board chair and vice chair, and just given the surge in COVID cases right now and the MIOSHA renewed emergency rules that came out today that will be in place for the next 6 months that really continue to emphasize remote work. I just feel like that's the safest thing for us. Also, the good news is that we had a heads up from the state that those orders would be renewed, and we're still waiting for MDHHS to address their gatherings and mask orders. That is scheduled to expire on April 19. However, the direction that we've been talking about and been moving toward is consistent, I think, with the guidance we're getting from the state. And that is, we're going to use this summer to, we will be in compliance with the MIOSHA rules to require remote work from our employees who can do their jobs effectively and efficiently. The state uses the word feasibly. I have been meeting with our elected officials and the court administrators and department heads, and what we are doing is reevaluating that word feasibly and just making sure that when necessary, we'll be bringing more employees back to report in person in a safe way, following all the protocols to socially distance and keep their masks on over the summer. And lastly, I want to address the American Rescue Plan information a little bit that Board Chair Frisbee mentioned. My perspective is maybe a little bit different, that the county's allocation out of that is $26.5 million over the next 3 years. And I would see it not as a windfall, but as a recognition that we definitely were impacted more on the revenue side from COVID-19. And so we will make sure that we are strategically and responsibly using this one-time funding to make sure that our budget is made whole from the impacts of the revenue losses, and that we will be looking at one-time projects and not use this as an opportunity to increase our baseline budget. Have meetings scheduled with our finance department. I continue to listen to at least weekly guidance from our state and national associations, and we're still waiting for the rules to come out from U.S. Treasury. We will be getting input from the Board of Commissioners on priorities to the extent that we know that there is some emphasis on passing through some of these dollars that are available to unmet needs within our community. And then I'll be meeting with the other cities and other local governments throughout the county that make up the difference between our 26 million that I mentioned and the 60-some million that Steve mentioned coming to our community, so that we can make this a concerted effort. So more to come on that. It's not something that we're rushing into, and just, again, keep in mind that once we carve out the amount available to make our budget whole, to stabilize our expenses, our COVID response, and address specifically the needs of our community, it's really not going to feel like a windfall, but rather a recognition that counties have not been fully funded from the state. We've really received little assistance from the federal government over the years, and yet the pandemic has definitely changed the needs of our residents. It has changed the needs of our businesses, and it has changed the way that we are going to need to operate going forward. And we just want to recognize that, and more to come on the ARP. So with that, we can move on to new business tonight. We have 8 items, starting with 12B1. Do want to make sure that our experts from our bond counsel and our financial advisors and underwriters for the pension bonds have been promoted. So we have Bobby Benzinski, Lou Orcutt, and Jeff Aronoff, and they can let me know if there are others from your firms. But item 12B1 is the authorization to issue 2021 pension obligation bonds. And I invited our experts back just so that they're on standby. Just a reminder that we went through a pretty good analysis of this effort back in February when the board approved the required comprehensive financial plan that outlines the objectives of issuing pension obligation bonds to pay off most of our unfunded liabilities for the 2 remaining Divisions 1 and Division 20 of our defined benefit plan. Those plans were closed to new employees a year ago, February. And so the authorization before you tonight is really the final step. We published the notice of intent again in February for the required 45 days. We're still recommending up to $30 million in pension obligation bonds, and that will produce a significant savings, much greater than even what we saw in the first 2 issuances of pension bonds that we completed over the last few years. So substantial savings that relate to the favorable low rates in the market right now for issuing these taxable bonds, and then just being able to pay off MERS, most of the unfunded liability, to really limit our risk, to make sure that our unfunded liabilities aren't growing, but yet we're fixing, it's kind of like refinancing a mortgage. We're fixing that debt over the next many years. And the next steps, if you authorize this resolution tonight, will allow us to move forward with getting a new bond credit rating from Standard & Poor's, which we're requesting next week. We need to move forward and get approval from the State Treasury Department, which we're hoping to do at the beginning of May, and then get the bonds issued before the end of the second quarter. And really, that will be just a remarkable progress from where we've come over the past few years, with about 75% funded with our pension plans. This will take that, to close to 100%, and just a tremendous amount of work with strategy and labor relations. And I want to thank our HR director, Kim Archambault, for leading that cause as far as getting our union groups to agree that this strategy is better, not just for the county and our taxpayers, but also for benefit to our employees that are participants. So the current employees will not be harmed. They will continue to be able to retire with their current benefits in the pension plan. In the meantime, their contribution rates out of their paychecks will be reduced, and all new employees since last February have been going into our 401k. And we have a pretty comparable market-wise matching contribution from the county, which is up to 7% into our 401k plan. So ask for any questions. And again, we've got Bobby Benzinski, Lou Orcutt, Jeff Aronoff here if you have questions.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the authorization to issue 2021 pension obligation bonds as presented?
Don't move, Miller.
Support Hatcher.
Miller and Hatcher. Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And thank you to our team for being here. Item 12B2 comes from the Sheriff's Office, and this is a request that the board ratify a contract that the sheriff already executed in response to a request for proposal from the city of Westland, Michigan for prisoner transit and lodging within the county jail. So this was a request from Westland's competitive bidding process, and they were in need of another municipality to help them out. The terms of this contract that are supported by county administration, by finance, and by our corporation council are similar to contracts the sheriff has in place with other cities like Livonia and Dearborn. The sheriff did, again, execute that on March 16. And I understand we may have one or more inmates already from the city of Westland. This is a cost recovery basis contract, which is always favorable for the county, and in the rates incrementally increase over the next 3 years. They're a per diem rate that covers the costs of lodging the inmates, and then there's a little bit of administrative cost recovery. So I recommend and ask for your approval, and Corporation Council and Sheriff probably would be happy to answer any questions.
I have a motion to approve the contract with the city of Westland, Michigan for prisoner transport and lodging as presented.
So moved.
So moved. Support.
Tompkins and King. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Yep, 7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 12B3 comes from the Road Department. I want to acknowledge Managing Director John Midgley and Engineering Director Christine Parsons, who are here tonight to answer any questions. This is a pretty straightforward request for your approval of the contract that comes through MDOT. It's their standard boilerplate contract, but it is the result of, again, our road department being proactive to seek grant funding, in this case, safety grant from the federal government, to do some tree removal on a priority basis throughout the county. The total project cost is a little over $900,000. The county has budgeted and will expect to pay our share of about $131,000. The grant will pay for $782,000. There are 12 locations slated for this tree removal. They are attached to the agenda item for your review. And I definitely recommend your approval for this contract.
Can I have a motion to approve the MDOT contract 21-5001 tree removal throughout Calhoun County as presented? You're all muted.
So moved, Tompkins.
Support Smith.
Tompkins and Smith. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Chair. Kelly, what are the plans, or are there plans for the replacement of the tree removals? Or are they I guess, I'm sorry, I missed the part about where they're being, why they're being. I know it's MDOT, but they're being removed because do you know what I'm saying? I just missed that part, I'm sorry. Why are they being?
Yeah, the basic answer, and then John and Christine can jump in, but we apply for safety grants because there have been areas identified where the trees are actually an obstruction to visibility, or there are known crashes in that area. So it's really an opportunity, instead of using our own funding to trim trees and get them out of the way, which we do in conjunction with any of the construction projects. There's always tree removal, a lot of tree removal going on in Emmett Township right now. So it's a standard item that just on an ongoing basis, we struggle to find operating funds to pay for. So this allows for federal funds. I think throughout the year, the road department receives complaints and requests for trees to be trimmed. And this is just an opportunity for them to sort of bundle those on an annual basis when they're related to safety issues. And actually they're removing portions of trees or all of trees that have been identified as safety problems. So
Thank you so much. Yes, I apologize for that. I just kind of was listening and it just went past me, but that's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty.
Yes.
You have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 12B4 comes from our Clerk Register of Deeds office, and Clerk Kim Hinckley is here tonight. And as she mentioned in the chat, I think we may also have a representative from CoFile, which is the company that our clerk's office has contracted for several years now, and just a tremendous effort to provide records to our clerk's office. And now this will really be a breakthrough to provide vital records to our public through our website. So again, kudos to Kim Hinckley for being progressive and recognizing not just the impact of COVID and needing to reduce the amount of traffic in her office, but also just the need to create options for our public to do business with the county in different ways to be more efficient, more effective, and potentially to reduce the number of people that need to come to the office and stand in line and fill out paper forms. So this is a contract, recommended contract with CoFile for the clerk's records management upgrade. So our IT department has been involved in evaluating and is in support of this project. Our corporation counsel has been reviewing the contract, and as noted in the resolution, we are still kind of negotiating some final terms. And so we tried to get this on the agenda as quickly as possible in order to get the best price. One thing I want to point out is that CoFile is relatively new with the part of the solution that relates to serving up to the public on our website the ability to order certified copies of birth certificates, marriage licenses, and death certificates. So we may be one of the first counties in Michigan to actually deploy this software solution. So we're recommending a 5-year agreement with CoFile. It's approximately $43,000 a year, and it's really 2 pieces. The first one, the original idea was to allow the public to apply for their marriage license. So someone's getting married, apply for the license, used to involve quite a bit of time spent in the clerk's office, several visits and waiting in the lobby and in-person interaction. So this will streamline that process. And then the second piece that I mentioned earlier is the one that will allow for certified copies of vital records to be available through the website. So we'll have some return on investment. I think our clerk did a pretty good job in the cover memo of delineating those savings, cutting down on the staff time, the amount of documents that are printed, all kinds of things. And I'm just so excited to have a clerk who's ready to increase this efficiency. And I think it's going to have a great return on investment, and I'm definitely in support of this contract.
I have a motion to approve the contract with CoFile for clerk's records management upgrade as presented.
So move, Miller.
Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion?
Chair Frisbee, I just have one question. And I first want to say that I too am very excited about this. I think Clerk Hinckley is doing a fantastic job in this front, as well as others. Just one question, nuance in the weed stuff are the records stored internally on county-owned servers, or is this in the CoFile cloud? Where are the actual records sent?
Commissioner Smith, yes, my understanding, we've had this discussion with IT, is that they do back up on our servers, couple different servers. And then this new technology, my understanding, and Craig may be able to speak to it a little bit better than I can, who's on our call as well, is that there is some cloud technology that will be started to be using, but all of our records are in-house and backed up.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? I just remember the great story of Kelly Scott getting a marriage license and having to run between the floors and fax stuff back instead of handing it to him. And this is, like she said, a far cry from those days. So good job, Commissioner or Clerk Hinckley. We appreciate you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I believe Lucy just chatted the fact that somebody has their hand up. The call-in number may be related to the co-file. I don't know if that's true or not. Is that any confirmation on that? Yeah.
It probably is. Why don't you let him in real quick?
I've given him talking privileges. He should be able to talk. He just is on mute.
Just take your mute off.
Excuse me, Chair Frisbee, this isn't public comment time, is it?
He's from co-file. He was just I think he was gonna add to the answer that Clerk Hinckley offered. He's not unmuting though. All right, we'll move on. Madam Clerk, please take the roll. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Craig Jones with CoFile. I was just going to echo that the images are stored locally with your IT. The cloud portion is going to oversee the request of those documents.
Thank you.
So again, I just wanted to echo that, and so there was no confusion. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 12B5 is the request for an amendment, the first amendment to this year's agreement between the county and Michigan State University for extension services. So our current arrangement has been that the county would provide support staff to the MSUE arrangement. Due to some departures of staff in our office, we have reevaluated that situation and found it in the best interest, mainly for, I guess, oversight and accountability, to have the work plan amended for the rest of this year, so that instead of hiring the support staff at the county level, that we would add the funding for that position to our pass-through amount for MSU Extension, and that they would then in turn provide the support, the clerical support for that office. So even though it's an increase to the amount that we would be paying to MSU, it's actually an overall savings to the budgeted amount for the operation with reducing the staffing level on our end. So this is overseen, of course, by our Community Development Office, Jen Bamba, and Brad Wilcox was instrumental in taking the opportunity to review this situation, and we are recommending this amendment so that things with MSU Extension can continue to operate throughout the summer and the rest of the year for staffing that would be supervised by the university.
I have a motion to approve amendment number 1 to the 2021 Michigan State University Extension Agreement for Extension Services as presented.
Still moved, Miller.
Support, Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B6 is also from our Community Development Department. And this is a request to approve a land use planning services agreement with Lee Township. So similar to the arrangement that we have had in place for the past several months with Penfield Township, Jen Bamba has been reaching out to other townships, just offering the same service. And for some townships that either have a vacancy in their planning and zoning administrators, or just, want a different arrangement, maybe that saves money, or maybe just creates consistency with the county being able to look at different townships the same and apply best practices so that their residents are served in more efficient ways. We're hoping to expand this service to any township who would benefit from it. So Lee Township their board has agreed to this. Their board approved it on March 15. It involves an annual retainer of $5,000. And then there's a list of optional services that are sort of a la carte, and they're billed at an hourly rate that basically recovers the staff time of our office. So the agreement has been approved and reviewed by our Corporation Counsel, Jim Dyer. It's effective essentially until terminated with a notice clause in there. So we're excited to recommend another agreement with shared services with our other governments.
Can I have a motion to approve the agreement for land use planning services with Lee Township as presented?
So move Tompkins.
Support Hatcher.
Tompkins and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B7 is the request for approval of the 2021 remonumentation appointments and contracts. So continuing the services overseen by our Community Development Office. Brent Thalen, who's our GIS manager, oversees the remonumentation grant. So each year you have before you for approval, usually in December, our grant application. The remonumentation program is almost entirely grant funded, with the county contribution of some portion of our deed recording revenue. So this is a follow-up that you see every spring, and that is the actual contracts for our surveyors who do the work. So these are professional services contracts. I believe there are 6 of them. They're approximately $11,000 each, and this has already been incorporated into the county's budget. And we're just asking for the approval of all of these contracts with the professional surveyors as the Calhoun County Remonumentation Peer Group.
Can I have a motion to approve the 2021 remonumentation appointments and contract approvals as presented?
I'll move Miller.
All right, Betty.
Miller and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes, sorry about that.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Final item under new business tonight is 12B8, and this is the request for your approval of an early retirement incentive program. We have offered these from time to time in the past. We always structure them in a way that does create savings for the county budget over the long term, and just offers the opportunity for employees that are eligible for either a reduced or full retirement already, maybe are undecided, to make that decision. And the incentive that we provide is a lump sum payout. We did increase the amount a little bit this year from the previous program. We're recommending a cash payout of $400 per year of service, a maximum of $12,000 lump sum payout. And it also allows anybody who's going to retire under the program to, of course, be eligible for our retiree health savings or health benefit with a credit of $10 per month per year of service. So if they've been here 30 years, they would get a credit of $300 per month toward the premium that our retirees pay for their health insurance premiums that would be under the county's group insurance plans. I think we have 75 to 80 employees eligible for the program. We're asking for your approval tonight, and then the timeline would be we're giving them, I think it's through the month of May to make the declaration, and then they would be able to retire anytime between May 1st and the end of this calendar year. The program is estimated, depending on how many people participate, could provide savings up to about $400,000 a year over the 5-year forecast, which is the period over which we do our general fund. Long-term budget forecast is about $1.8 million. So I think it's just a win-win. Our elected officials and department heads are supporting this. It's totally voluntary for employees to make that decision. I want to thank Kim Archambault for taking the leadership and getting an agreement with all of our participating union groups as well. So we have support really from everyone internal, and board support is just the final needed to put this program in place.
Can I have a motion to approve the early retirement incentive program as presented?
So move, Miller.
Support Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion?
I got a question. So is this for any employee in the county?
It's for any employee who has met the eligibility requirements under their retirement plans. So if you're in the MERS defined benefit plan, that is those retirement eligibility requirements are defined by the plan. If you're not in one of the pension plans, then it's really just an age-based eligibility.
Okay, but any department
Yes.
or non-union employees are eligible for it?
Yes, it is. We're opening this program to all departments countywide.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Mr.
other?
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Smith.
I was curious, is there any prohibition against an employee taking this incentive program and then being rehired essentially on the first step again?
Yes, there are requirements, and it's based on really IRS rules and actually MERS requirements as well. So in general, we're having employees sign an agreement that says they will not seek reemployment with the county. The exception would be that after a certain time period passes, because it really does need to be a legitimate separation. After that point, then we do allow an employee to be employed on a totally part-time basis. And we've defined part-time with a limitation on the number of hours that they could come back and work for the county. But it's really meant to be a bona fide separation from the county.
Thank you. What really came to mind for me was specifically the difficulty in recruiting public safety folks, maybe some others. So thank you. That clears it up a lot.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. All right, our next item is citizens' time. The same rules apply as during the first citizens' time. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and no negative personal comments. Remember to mute your TV or computer when calling in. Eliminate the background sound. There's a 30-second delay. Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Last chance. Anyone in the queue, Austin? Did I get our Patrick? Did I get that right?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it's Patrick. But yeah, no one's in the queue.
Okay, we'll move along. Commissioner time.
I got something, Steve.
Commissioner Miller.
Tomorrow night is our annual CCIS meeting. We're having an election. It's been postponed twice now. Hopefully we can get it through. If anybody's a CCIS member, make sure you get your vote in. The thing is, we lost two big people in this area this week, last couple of weeks. One was Rainer D. Moe, also known as Bud Moe. He was a lifelong member in this area. He founded Bud's Record in 1969. He's big into the fair his whole life, and he's gonna be missed. Also, Steve Swafford. I worked with him for about 12 years, side by side. I've known him since I was a little kid, and it's pretty sad what really happened in that situation. But I just want to let everybody know. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Chair, if I could, please.
Commissioner, Vice Chair, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I certainly will echo the sentiments certainly that Commissioner Miller and yourself have displayed with the passing of Steve Swafford, certainly being a loyal public servant as a Homer Township trustee. So I certainly got to see Steve on a monthly basis, as well as working with me at the Homer Lake Board as well, and just many, many phone calls that him and I shared. And his passion certainly was for the Calhoun County Fair. I think Commissioner Miller stated that not only just being a board member, but doing all he could to help the kids certainly at the fair and showing their animals and being as into it as he could. But ultimately, I really think Steve's commitment and love for his family was really unsurpassed. So certainly to his wife, Julie, children, Andrew and Danielle, and his grandchildren, who he absolutely adored. If you've seen him on Facebook, he was taking pictures of his grandkids all the time. So I certainly would express my thoughts, prayer, and sincerest condolences to Steve, and not only rest in peace, but certainly to his family as they begin the process going forward. So again, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Welcome. Anybody else? Just a couple of comments. One, we talked a couple of times now about the American Recovery Act and some brief discussions about how to proceed with that. So we'll get you more detail on a potential, not formalized, but a potential workshop for that to lay out some priorities. And then I just want to express my concerns publicly with Star Commonwealth and their decision not to take in kids, but to essentially start tapping into local resources. When I spoke with leadership there last week, they assured me that the feds would bring all the required resources to care for those children, and that's turning out not to be true. So we'll see what happens, but I trust folks to make good decisions, and I think we have to make sure that we stay focused on who we're caring for. Not that those children at Star don't deserve high quality care and love. They do, and there's plenty of opportunity to help out in the community. And some of the local churches and nonprofit groups are taking donations of clothing and toys and other child appropriate things. So I encourage people to look for those opportunities to help. But more information as we go ahead, and just disappointed that impact of potential on the local. It wasn't considered before that decision was made. We continue to work on also the board appointments that we approve, either in committee or boards, in a process for that. So we'll have something to share with that with everyone here pretty soon. Jim and the rest of the administration have been working on that. So it'll follow the line more of what we expect out of those folks to do within their committees and boards, and how they operate moving forward. So more as we learn. All right, move on to claims payable. Can I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County claims payable for March 12th, 2021 through April 1st, 2021 in the amount of $8,253,251.13 as presented?
So move, Hatcher.
Support, Miller.
Hatcher and Miller. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
we have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Any announcements? Just one, as our road department indicated, the state flower is about to bloom in the orange barrel. So be careful. Our citizens, our road department staff, and many others are already out working in the streets of Emmett Township. So keep your eyes peeled and watch out for them. Make it safe for them. Give them a wide berth. So
Yeah.
good luck to them, and hope they have a safe construction season. All right. Anything else? All right. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.